Hey, what's going on, guys? Bob Mentality here, and do we have a crazy recap here today for you? We finally got some downside capitulation on the ES. We had VIX rip all the way up to almost 40 bucks and drop 10 points, and now we're sitting here after hours, and the bears are making another attempt below the 4,400. What is going to happen next? Let's just jump into the technicals here, guys, and see if we can work out what the highest probability is heading into the day before the FOMC. And also we have a ton of beta earnings this week. So here's what we got on the monthly. This is so far is the biggest monthly drop we've seen since March 2020, which was the pandemic lows, the dump, right? The dreaded market crash back here. This is extremely significant. This is a huge downside confirmation we've been needing for a while. I mean, just look at the monthly and the strong uptrend we've been seeing here so far. This has been needing to happen. It just so happens this is heading into a very anticipated FOMC meeting where many are expecting for the Fed to be extremely hawkish, which makes sense, right? What the market's response will be following the meeting, no one knows. Let's just go off the technicals and see what we got. I was speaking last week about this channel. If we got below 4520, 4500, we can get downside confirmation. We got downside confirmation. I pointed out the major demand area here around that 4270. We broke that and actually soaked just above 4200. So the same area demand, that same demand is going to apply heading into this week. If we do somehow get below 4200, the next decent reference, you just got to zoom out on the weekly, guys. I mean, honestly, if you want to look back to, say 4080, 4000, if we do get back below 4200, things could get pretty ugly. If the market doesn't like what the Fed has to say Wednesday. However, if we get through the FOMC and the market does not tank, at that point I'm looking a lot more bullish towards my entries. Okay. If you look on the weekly here, look at this huge soak we had over the 4200. I go to the 4 hour, you'll see the bounce, selling, sold hard, bounced it over 4200, and now we're pulling back after hours. So all the bulls heading into tomorrow's session are watching these lows. As long as we hold these lows, that's your bottom fishing play for the bounce. 4250, if you want to have a close stop 4250, I would do that, because I mean, if we break 4250, chances are we're going straight through 4200. So that's a much closer reference for you to use. Here on the VIX, guys, I always say short the freaking VIX. You'll see we popped up into this almost $40 mark, historic highs in the short term as far as, since 2020, right? The beginning of 2020. This is huge. This is huge. This short, if you look on VXX and other names like that, this was where to get short. Now, unfortunately, I was not prepared for the VIX to run all the way up to 40 today, so I didn't sell any call verticals. But one of the guys in my room did. Shout out to Monkey. And yeah, he is in a good position here as we drop 10 points and the VIX just absolutely melted. What does this melt mean? Well, we're still over 20. We can still get some crazy moves, but it means that the aggressive bearish sentiment got slapped as we had this rally off the lows. A lot of people were looking for us to break down through 4200. A lot of people were hedging in UVXY and VIX calls, and we dumped. So now we reset back. Do we have potential higher? Yes, certainly we can go higher depending on what happens in this overnight session. As long as the bulls can keep us over 4,300, which is roughly mid-channel right here between the highs and the lows of this recent pullback. As we're above 4,300, we're okay heading into Tuesday's session. Anything below 4,300, guys, I'd be sketched out, but I'd be watching that 4,200 to soak heading into tomorrow's price action. I'm going to jump into my chat room and give the actual analysis on the beta names that we have, but just taking a quick glance here, you look at Apple, you'll notice they all essentially have the same pattern. Sick V-shaped ramp into the close, but we're still underneath prior supply and can confirm lower. The most important chart to be watching is the SPY right now, or the ES. What is the ES doing? Everything's going to follow that, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. If you're interested in joining the chat room, there is information in the description box below. Or if you need one-on-one time, you can join my mentorship program. There's information on my Patreon for that. And guys, remember to stay focused on developing that bot mentality, which is the trading mentality, where you learn to eliminate your emotions so you can trade like a machine, guys. I'm out of here. Deuces.